There is no dearth for goddesses in this country. There are more goddesses than gods, if you do not know this. If you go from village to village in Tamil Nadu, for every village there is a different goddess, you know. For every village there's a different goddess, but for every village there's no different god. So, goddesses, there are more than gods in number, so your information is wrong. Where do you come from, Delhi? Huh? You come from Delhi? Singapore. Oh, you should move to Tamil Nadu. There are lots of goddesses, all kinds of ammans. About sages and seers, there have been many in the past. These days, because generally from young age they're trying to be beauty queens, they're just missing out on the other training. Because the commercial campaign as to how a woman should be in the world is totally misguided and westernized. And I think a huge amount of the female population is completely taken by this. A lot of them would approach it maybe after they are 50 and they have no hope of being beauty queens and at that time they may come, a lot of them are coming to us. But there are a lot of young women also with us who are doing wonderfully well. So, experientially, there are many women among the Isha meditators who are really in fabulous states of experience. So you can call them as seers or seeresses in their own ways. Gurus, no, women will not make good gurus, nor will men make good gurus. Unless you know how to be beyond the two, you can't be this. If you're a man or a woman, if you're stuck with your gender, then there's no chance of being a guru because you're looking at the mechanics of life in a completely different way. You're just looking at life as life. Being masculine, feminine is only question of percentages. Every other part that a woman has, man also has, except one or two parts, isn't it so? Yes or no? So the difference is very little. You have given too much attention to reproductory organs that this has become a big event in your head. If you just pay attention to life, you wouldn't be paying so much attention to reproductory organs, isn't it? If you must identify, it's not good to identify yourself with some body parts, isn't it? When you all the time go about, I am a man, I am a woman, you're identifying yourself with body parts, isn't it? If you must identify with body parts, I would advise at least choose the brains, not these things which make you a man or a woman. So, women will not make good gurus. Men cannot do at all. So leave that area alone. Don't take men and women there, it doesn't work like that. You being a man or a woman is only for a few purposes in life, yes? Only for a few purposes you need to be a woman or you need to be a man. For rest of it, you just need to be a human being, isn't it? You just need to be alive here. All the time you're a woman, all the time you're a man, this is a disease. This is an ailment, this is not gender. This is a certain ailment in your head, it's not in the body, it's in the head. Once your sexuality gets into your head, that's called perversion. If it's in the body, it's a natural process. If it's in your head, it's a perversion. For most people, it's gotten into their heads. What does it matter to you? What kind of body parts a guru has? Is he useful to you or not? That's all the question is, isn't it? Isn't it so?
Sadhguru, I'm a single mother, and between running a house and managing a child and earning, it becomes very difficult to focus on the spiritual process. Can you just give us some practical advice on how to make a space and time for spirituality in our everyday lives when we're householders?
Why is that a popular question? Yes, life places us in many situations. Life places us in many situations where managing things is like juggling. Have you ever juggled? Did you ever do juggling? No, you must try. Try with one ball. Most of you can manage. Try two. If I give you four, it'll be spilling all over the place. So once you take to juggling, you better develop some skill. Otherwise, your things will be all over the place, scattered. And every day you'll be mentally freaking out because you can't hold these things in place. So if you're not capable of juggling at all, you must just sit quietly with your eyes closed, Because juggling business has its own pleasures, has its own pains. You must see whether you're ready for these things or not. But most of you get into these things inadvertently because everybody's getting into it, or hormones hijacked your intelligence for some time. By the time you're released from the hijacking, by then it's too late. Already there are new lives around you. Things happen. Once you have a child, you have a 20-year project. That is if they do well. If they don't do well, you have a lifelong project. So before you take on such a project, you must consciously consider, are you really up to this? There is no necessity, every human being has to reproduce. There is no such necessity. Definitely, human species is not an endangered species. You are definitely not doing it for the world. Yes? So, it's always best when you're taking such a big step in your life, that you must take it consciously, not unconsciously. Are you really ready for this? Do you really need this, first of all? Is this what you want to do? If we were an endangered species, I would tell you, all of you must reproduce. We are not. There is no such danger in the next 1,000 years. So, only those who really want to and they feel that they're going to contribute to humanity by producing another wonderful life, if you're sure of that, first of all you must think, can the world bear with one more you? Does the world really need one more you? Because in some way you're going to produce a miniature version of yourself, isn't it? Does the world need it? But now it's happened. We should not talk about this because now it's happened. So you're a householder, what it means is, you have to organize your own space, your living space, your own kitchen, your own gas, your own electricity, your own cleaning, your own dishwasher, your own everything, your own everything, even if you're just two people. This is a lot of burden on an individual, plus both economically and ecologically it is not wise, not good for the country, not good for the world, not good for the planet, isn't it? Isn't it so? Because we have some silly ideas of some sense of mind. Even the damn kitchen you have to own. It would be so simple. If let's say 10 families got together, you can keep your living spaces separately. If you had a common kitchen that you volunteered, one day one person will cook. If you joyfully did it, you know how much arrangement would come down? With how much ease and joy you could live? No, you must have your own kitchen. Because of some silly sense of ownership and possessiveness, we have made very idiotic arrangements for ourselves, which are very painful to manage. Many people would be relieved. I'm sure a lot of women would be relieved if 10, 20 families came together and you only once in 20 days you had to cook. One day big cooking, next 20 days no cooking. Wouldn't it be great? Or maybe we could even hire some help for 20 families together and somebody could manage it, isn't it? But no. I have to own my own kitchen. Even the cutting knife has to be mine. When you have such a silly sense of ownership about everything, then you have to suffer. At least the meditators. I think we should start doing this in big cities. You know, one apartment building where 20 homes are there, all of you move into the same apartment, keep one apartment for cooking and eating. In another 19 you live, 19 families. Why can't we do this? Those of you who are affluent enough to make your own gala arrangements, that's up to you. But people who are living simple lives, who are living in apartments anyway, no sambar smell in your house. You can go down to the eating apartment, eat, your house is clean and nice. Wouldn't it be good? But little bit of loosening boundaries should happen. If you come from this stupid idea, good boundaries will always make… good fences always make good neighbors, if you have such a silly idea, you have to suffer it. Whether meditators or non-meditators, after all, people who are living in your apartment are human beings, isn't it? We could make, but right now it looks like it's impossible to do these things. But I'm sure meditators can come together and do it, isn't it? You'll have a lot of space to meditate in your house. No gas smell, no nonsense. Nobody is burning chilies in the kitchen and doing all this. Life could be arranged better. Now you want to have your own everything, you have to struggle, there is no other way. If you are that affluent, you have 25 people working for you, that's up to you. But all the other simpler families, it's better that some parts of our lives we fuse together and make it simpler and easier for ourselves, isn't it? Is it not important? And it'll be a great support and a sense of community for all the people living there. But a little bit of give and take has to happen. If you are calculating how much are their children eating, how much my children are eating, then you can't live. If you have such problems, you can't live. And it'll be very good for your spiritual growth. That's what I've been telling people. We are thinking by 2011 or at least by 2012, we want to build about 1,000 dwelling places around the ashram so that 1,000 families can move in here. No. Don't clap, that's not going to be good because once you come here, there'll be no time to clap. We'll keep your hands busy. Very busy. So, now you are a single mother, managing this child, going to work, cooking. I'm sure, not intentionally, unknowingly in many ways you start cursing and hating your very child. You don't intend to do it, but when too much juggling happens, it will happen, isn't it? You'll say no. It is not that you have to verbally curse somebody. Irritation is curse, isn't it? Irritation, agitation, being stressed, can't smile at your child, these are all curses for a growing child, isn't it so? That a mother is not energetic, not joyful, won't play with you because she is dead by the time she comes home in the evening. All these are curses for the child or no? We need to make little different kind of arrangements, or you must move in here, you.
My question is, should culture be preserved at all? Because in the name of preservation of culture, already we have started seeing moral policing in India.
What are you seeing?
Moral policing.
Moral policing?
Yeah.
Okay. See, culture is a happening thing. Nobody can preserve it as it is. It is evolving all the time. Nothing wrong with that. If it's evolving naturally, people making choices and making certain changes with their lives, it's perfectly okay. But when your culture is being engineered by commercial forces and certain very aggressive religious forces, some amount of stopping and preserving also needs to happen, isn't it? If naturally it's evolving, people are making their choices to eat differently, to dress differently, to do things differently, it's perfectly okay. But commercial forces are engineering culture for their benefit. If you don't stop it, then, when you open your tap tomorrow, Coca-Cola will come. Water will not come. I'm telling you, it's not far away. Already it's happening in India. If you enter a restaurant, they won't serve you water, they'll serve you Coke or Pepsi. So, for commercial forces are anyway having budgets to change your culture, having a strategy to change your culture. When it is so, I think you should also have a strategy not to allow that to happen. How it is done is a questionable thing. Whatever you called as moral policing, it happened in crude ways. So yes, everybody is disgusted with that. But in some form of education, some way it must be done. It's very easy to sell sleaze, you understand? And very easily you can catch the youth and make that the culture of the land in no time. See, I want you to understand this. When you say culture, there are different types of cultures in the world. If culture is just a social norm, if culture is just a certain way people are living because of climatic conditions, because of other influences, that's different. I want you to understand this culture was engineered to gradually lead people towards their spiritual process. Always, right from ancient times, every aspect of your life, how to sit, how to stand, everything was engineered to slowly lead you towards a spiritual process. And I think that part of the culture has to be preserved. I don't care how you dress, what you do, But there are many aspects of culture which are essentially a yogic science implanted into people's lives, so that without even knowing you're practicing yoga. This was done thousands of years ago. Right now what we are trying to do is just that once again. The idea and the mission of Isha is not to just go on teaching programs and programs and programs. Our idea is, why we limited ourselves to geographically to Tamil Nadu alone is because we want to see in a generation or two that yoga is not a program. Like a mother teaches a child to brush his teeth, like that yoga should happen in their homes. Brushing your teeth is a certain culture, isn't it? There are some people who don't have such things. So, this was brought into your life because of the benefits that it has. Similarly, various other practices and norms were brought into your life because of the benefits that it has for human well-being. Now some commercial force is coming and removing everything for their benefit. If you don't stop it in some way, they will take away everything. So, some amount of control is definitely needed. If people are making their choices and slowly evolving into something else, that is nobody's business, okay? That is nobody's business. Every human being has a right to choose and change his life the way he wants. But right now, I want you to understand, most human beings are not choosing, they are being forced to make choices, isn't it? The commercial establishments, the marketing departments are larger than the production departments in most companies, and they're just campaigning. And of course, there are religious forces who are campaigning to change the culture. And the basic flavor of the demographics in the country, if you don't do some kind of stoppage, it must be done gently, sensibly, but unfortunately, because saner voices in the society never speak, the crude ones get onto the street and do the job. That's all that's happening. Because saner voices never speak. If saner voices speak, there will be no room for all those street goons to take up this job. It need not be policed, but education is needed, definitely, isn't it? Yes or no? Education is definitely needed. What is the significance of doing what we have been doing for these thousands of years? This education is definitely needed. Because the education is missing, somebody is trying to educate you on the street with a stick in their hand. So, because you and me have not taken the responsibility of educating people properly, somebody is trying to do it in their own way. It's unfortunate, but that's how it will happen. That is how it will happen if we don't do it the right way. So, when it comes to culture, does it have any significance at all? Definitely it has. Right now, India as a nation is an extremely diverse population. We speak different languages, we eat different kinds of food, we dress differently, we think differently, we look different, our colors are different, our, ethnic backgrounds are different, everything is different. So what is the common thread that binds us to make us a nation? If you take away the cultural fabric of this nation, there is nothing to hold this country as one nation. Please see this. The only commonality in this country is, there is a cultural thread which somehow collects. Whether you are a Tamil or you're a Bengali or you're Punjabi or a Gujarati, there are a few cultural aspects which string us together. If you remove this, after some time you will wonder, why should be one nation? Why can't I have my own Tamil nation? Already the idea has come, isn't it? Isn't it so? Already the idea is being propagated or no? It is only because there is a cultural thread which binds us, we can still say this is one nation. Otherwise, you will see if you damage the cultural fabric which gives us some sense of commonality, then you will wonder, why should we be in one nation? You will try to break it. And every time you try to break a nation, it is going to happen in cruel ways. It never happens gently. You have seen the India-Pakistan partition, now you're seeing what's happening in Sri Lanka. It always happens in extreme pain. So we don't need that once again. We've had it 60 years ago and that's enough. If your stomach is empty, there's only one issue about food. But once the stomach becomes full, you have 100 issues going on. So the nature of the human being is such, no matter what you do, you want to be something more than what you are right now. And if that something more happens, something more, it's an endless pursuit. So somewhere a human being is seeking a limitless expansion, but trying to do it with physical… Education in its true sense is essentially a tool to expand human perception, if possible, consciousness. But today, the societies have chosen to use education only as a tool to produce cogs for the larger machine. Whatever happens to the planet naturally happens to this body, because this body is a product of the way this planet and this solar system is functioning. This is like the potter's wheel by which this has been made. He went into an elaborate science of this later, but to make it very simple, this much is clear to all of us. There's an elaborate science and mathematics involved in this, but leaving that aside, the way it works. Doing something right means doing it the way it works, isn't it? And it's very important. Whatever we do it the way it works. Can it? I'm getting very serious. On a certain day, a man fell into the septic tank. I want all of you to visualize yourself in a septic tank. He desperately tried to come out, he could not. Then he started screaming, "Fire, fire!"